here's the issue. The people who have the best service, who care the most for their customers, often are the ones who struggle the most to actually get customers in the door. And so for a lot of kind of service-based business owners, they end up staying in this kind of limbo where they haven't quite broken through the ceiling, and maybe they're still working a job and they can't really support themselves, and they have this grand vision of how things will be, but year on year on year, everything kind of stays the same. And what I want to talk to you about in this quick video is really the two things that are actually going to help you to change that, if that is kind of where you're at. And all the way from like a first principles kind of perspective is, before we even get to like the marketing, the sales, the enrolling clients, the delivery, what really matters is actually you. Because up to a few $100,000 a month, maybe even $1 million a month, you as the business owner are the biggest bottleneck. And the trouble is, right, this square is your decision making, right? And every decision you've ever made has been within this square, and that's resulted in everything that you've ever got or ever achieved or ever had. And so from a first principles perspective, if you continue to make decisions as you have, you can only get more of what you've had. And that's in the sense of, to take a tangible example, if you're, say, like a coach or a consultant, and you've only ever had a couple of clients, you've only ever been able to charge, a few $100 or a few £1,000 or whatever it may be, and you've only managed to bring on so many clients, that's because of the decisions that you've made. And so in order to actually kind of, expand beyond this little box here, beyond this little square, and actually achieve something that you haven't yet achieved, it is fundamental that you have to make decisions in a different way. Because if you don't, it's only going to reinforce, you're kind of bouncing off these walls all the time, staying stuck exactly where you have been. And that brings us to the issue of client acquisition, because what you'll find is that it's a very obvious problem, right? That for service-based business owners who actually, or solopreneurs or small business owners who kind of have something of real value to bring to the world, why is it then that they're actually unable to get more clients and scale their operation and serve more people, create more impact, live the life they want as a result? And the trouble is that these huge marketers, these like big influencers, they play on that. They play on you, right? Being in this little box here, tell you exactly what you think you want to hear, which is that we're going to fix marketing for you, right? We're going to show you how to market your services. And the issue from the start is that, well, that's not even the issue at all, right? The issue is actually, does the market even perceive the value that you have in the first place? Like the actual packaging and the positioning of what you do is precedes any kind of sales or marketing or even fulfillment of your services, right? And so for as long as you are competing head to head with everybody else doing similar things, no amount of marketing or sales is going to solve the problem. However, these big gurus, these influencers, they won't tell you that. They'll tell you, hey, come and buy my course. I know how to get clients. They have a personal brand of, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, if not hundreds of millions of people, and then pretend that you can do the same thing just by following the same steps. And it's not true. We have to start from first principles, which is fundamentally you, and then secondarily it's actually the offer that you're presenting to the market in the first place. Because the reality is, and this isn't me coming up with these concepts, but the reality is value is trading service for the alleviation of pain, or the alleviation of a problem which causes pain, right? And that's it. And so if what you're actually presenting to people isn't, in the first place, isn't actually something that they perceive would solve their problem, it doesn't matter what it is. And the problem is, a lot of people talk about kind of the service itself, or what you do or how it works, and that's only going to raise more objections and therefore turn more people away from your services in the first place. Anyway, what a lot of these influencers, these gurus will do is tell you that you have a marketing problem. You just need to do more marketing or better marketing, or need this new cutting edge strategy, or need this, you copy my Instagram template or use this, chat GPT, AI, whatever tool bullshit. It's all noise. It's all irrelevant, because it's not going to be specific for your offer. And your offer is simply how you are going to actually convert your niche and your market into actual clients, right? And so what happens is you make decisions based on being in this box, being in this square, and then someone with all this brand authority and this online presence comes up and is like, I can help you fix this. But you're still making a decision from inside this box. You're still going to bounce off these walls. So what it really is, right, is you don't have a marketing problem, or at least that it's pretty unlikely that you have a marketing problem. What you have is a client acquisition problem, which is a more holistic overview of all the way from before you've even made contact with your audience, with your avatar, right, your ideal avatar. It's like what even in the first place are the latent conditions of the market, what's going on in their heads before they even come across you, and then what do you need to happen for them to actually follow this. Don't think of a funnel as like a web page followed by web page. It's actually just this progression of consciousness, right, in the mind, or this adding on or tapping into certain beliefs. So it's purely a mental thing as someone's actually going through your process, right? So you probably don't have a marketing issue, you have a client acquisition issue. And that's the thing is, when we compartmentalize too much, which often happens with larger companies, like some of the clients we've worked with, is that they end up having a marketing team and a sales team, and that's kind of a natural progression of the growth of business. But the issue is then they're competing, right? And it's almost like the marketing will blame the sales team for not closing deals, and the sales will blame the marketing team for getting crappy leads. And it's because there's a lack of integration there that often happens at scale. And so what's really important is getting it to where it's systematized from the start, or systemized from the start. So instead of having two entirely separate operations, you want to have it so there's one very clear logical train that takes you all the way from when someone finds out about you to them actually becoming a client. And everything else is irrelevant. It's not about part of it is getting in front of more people, but more importantly is having a system that actually works for you and your offer in the first place. And that problem isn't solved by marketing agencies. That's the issue with the marketing agencies and social media management agencies are so popular now because it's such a low barrier of entry for people to get into, and they actually have no idea what they're doing. And so they're happy to sign as many clients as they can, take a cut of each business, and the ones that take off, happy days. But then everyone else is screwed, right? They just wasted a bunch of potentially money and definitely time on something that wasn't actually proven in the first place. And so our whole thing anyway is different, because we've seen the back end of literally hundreds of these businesses, right? We've helped build a lot of them out, and you have to take a more holistic approach to fundamentally what is even the market in the first place. What are they actually going to respond to? Because these agencies that are coming in and running ads or whatever it is, maybe the market isn't on scrolling through Facebook in the middle of the day. Maybe it's not even relevant for them. So we've got to be very intentional with the actual method of marketing or client acquisition in the first place, because you have your inbound, which is where people are reaching out to you. Maybe they've seen your content, for example, and they're responding to something there, where they've seen an ad. But you also have your outbound, where you're actually directly reaching out to people who could be a fit and engaging in that conversation, and that's what we do. And that's what a lot of our clients do, because it can be much more effective. And the thing is, again, fundamentally, if you do what everybody else does, you're going to get what everybody else has. And if you look at this market in general, and it's a very, very broad term here, but is that most people don't actually run the businesses that they want. And by want, I mean they might like what they do, but they're not earning the money that they want. They're not serving the clients that they want. They're not having the impact that they want. Everything is constantly just out of reach. And for as long as you keep following what everybody else is doing, that's always going to be the case. And achieving the American dream or financial freedom or whatever your goal is, it's always going to elude you, unless you focus on actually building the systems for yourself to where you're not dependent on some agency that popped up out of nowhere and whatever, right? But if you actually build a systems for yourself that can consistently, predictably bring clients, then you have ownership, you have control, you have better margins, right? And you know that, shit, if we need to change things in a year's time, that's fine. But at least you actually are going to be able to do that instead of then having to kind of relay information to some external agency. Anyway, all that to say is that, again, coming back to it, right? You make decisions based on here, based on what you have, based on what you've done. What's that talking about? If you do the same thing, it's like the definition of crazy or craziness or insanity or something like that. It's like doing the same things and expecting different results. Another one's from I want to say it's Ford. Who said if we give the people what they want, everyone will be riding faster horses, or something along those lines. So point of that is that, you know, if you think marketing is your problem, it's probably not, right? It just probably isn't. If you are competing directly with everybody else unknowingly because you haven't positioned your offer in the right way to begin with, then it doesn't matter how much marketing you do or how many courses you sign up for or how many influencers you buy from. It's not going to make a difference. You need to start from the fundamental of you and how you make decisions, move up to your offer and how it's actually positioned in the market. Like, is it in a market of one, or are you selling the same shit as everybody else? Because if you are, then there's no way you're going to ever scale to where you want to. You're never going to be able to achieve what you want to achieve, at least in the business sense. And then from then, it's just like building out consistent systems, right? Building out systems for consistent client acquisition, because you don't want leads. You don't want leads. You don't even want prospects. You don't want calls on the calendar. You want clients. Clients are the only thing that help your business grow, and everything else is fucking irrelevant. Anyway, bit of a ramble. I'm a little bit ill. You can probably tell by a croaky throat here, so I'll leave it at that. But if you are a service-based business, we can help, because this is like literally all we've been doing for the last 5 years is client acquisition. That's all we know. We're not very good at anything else apart from that. And again, it's looking at it from like a holistic perspective. So if you're curious, there's a link down below. You can book a call if you haven't already. Chances are you're probably watching this because you have. And I'm happy to kind of discuss things in more detail with you, see kind of if, how, where we can help. We don't take on everyone. We're not looking to dominate the entire market. We're just looking to help good people get more of their good service to more good clients and actually make the world a better place, because there's enough of these people selling crap and enough people buying it to keep them in business. We kind of want to flip that on its head and actually give you something to help you build something out that actually provides real value to the world and to the people you care about. Anyway, that's all from me. See you in the next one.